meditate, our focus is going to be on the lower back and on the hip flexors, moving and mobilizing and stabilizing and strengthening those areas through our movement practice today. So go ahead and start lying down. You'll have the therapy balls at your waist, right at the lower back region. So if you're sitting up for a moment and you take your hands to your waist, okay, and find where the kind of squishy part is between your rib cage and your pelvis, you're going to put the therapy balls at that spot, kind of separating on the back. So take them out of the pouch. Okay. And you're going to place them right about here, Gita, okay? Right at your lower back. So put it at that spot and lie all the way down on your back. Place your hands on your belly, and you can take the soles of your feet together and butterfly your knees out wide, or you can plant your feet to the ground and knock your knees in. So just kind of explore which one feels best. Maybe you try one and then you switch to the other, as you're here. Okay, so go ahead and close your eyes, or at least soften your gaze, and bring your awareness to your breath. As you breathe in and out, notice how your belly, your back, and the sides of your waist expand out on the inhale and contract in on the exhale. So for right now, no, moving your body, but instead see if you can just settle into stillness and then breathe at this spot. So what we're trying to do is create a 360-degree sense of movement, expansion and contraction, or tensile loading on the inhale, contractile loading on the exhale as you breathe. And you may even notice the pelvic floor muscles moving down and up as well. So the reason why I wanted to put the therapy balls at that lower back region is because that's an area that tends to get kind of stuck and lacks a sense of movement as we breathe. So see if you can especially breathe into that spot in your back. Take just a couple more cycles of breath here, and then we'll add on the movement component of this. If it helps, place your hands to your belly or the sides of your waist so you can actually feel that movement as well. You have that external feedback, just like you have with the therapy balls on your back. Three more cycles of breath. Equal expansion, equal contraction all the way around. And then from here, you can start windshield wipering the legs a little bit from side to side. And notice as you drop your knees to one side, the pressure, the weight's going to get a little bit more intense versus the other side. And it's very easy, right, when we're starting out slow, starting with something to kind of chase after the most intense sensation. But see if you can just be with whatever comes at this moment, and then I'll give you more options as we go. So if you would like to add on a little bit more, then you can hug your right knee to your chest and hold either around the shin bone or behind the hamstrings, and then breathe into your back on the right side. And then switch sides and breathe into the left side. This is a really simple thing that you can do to help bring awareness to the muscles involved when you breathe, and maybe a lack of movement. As you use the therapy balls, it may help to bring a bit more expansiveness. So now you can try hugging both knees to your chest if you like, and maybe you rock gently from side to side. If that's a little too much, then you can regress, or you can just stay where you are. And then go ahead and move the therapy balls down to the upper part of your glutes. So if you're wearing jeans, right, just imagine where the seam of your upper jean pocket will be. That's where you're going to place the therapy balls. And then just rock your hips from side to side, different than knocking your knees. So you're just going to move your hips right and left. And it helps to keep your feet planted on the floor for some extra traction. Yeah, there you go. What's also really great about the therapy balls is it helps you to actually isolate the muscles that we're going to be using that, we want to wake up. So go ahead and now put the therapy balls to the inner pockets of your glutes or of your, imaginary jeans. So if you imagine the inner seam of your pocket or essentially between the sit bones and the tailbone. For this one, move your pelvis forward and back or tilt it forward and back. So think cat cow. You're going to arch your back, guiding your tailbone behind you, and then round your lower back, curling your tailbone forward. And so if you're using the front of the pelvis as reference, you're tilting the front of your pelvis towards your face and away from your face. And we're going to kind of work with this movement pattern quite a bit, especially in our kind of isolation stage at the beginning part of the practice. So now take one of the therapy balls out of the way. You're going to take the other one to the outer pocket of your right glute. Okay, so basically that outer seam of the U-shaped pocket. Okay, yeah, put it to the right side. And once you have it set up, just start by windshield wipering the legs to the right and back to the middle. Good. And if you want to add on, find a figure four with your legs. So your right ankle will rest onto the top of your left thigh. Right ankle to the top of the left thigh. Yeah, there you go. And you can plant your left foot more in the middle. Yeah. So as you drop the knees to the right, you're essentially adding more weight and more external rotation. Now, another thing you can do from here is kind of circle your hips, kneading into that spot. You can circle your hips in one direction and then circle your hips in the other direction. Good. Go ahead and switch sides. So move that same therapy ball to the left, unwinding the legs, and we'll progress a little bit at a time. So start by dropping both knees to the left, just windshield wipering the legs. And notice how that feels. Really using the practice of discernment to help you understand where you should be today. What works, what doesn't work, and all of the other things in between. If you want to add on, left ankle to the top of the right thigh. Good. Go ahead and keep going. I'm going to try to put my dog upstairs again. So if you want to add on, circle your hips in one direction and then the other.
I'm in the room.
Yeah.
Which one is big?
Yeah. My dog is very whiny when he wants to play. All right. So go ahead and move the therapy ball out of the way. Plant your feet to the ground. Good. And then we're going to start with those cat-cow movements, but just on the floor. And then we're going to progress them and do them in different positions. So start with the feet planted, one hand above your belly button, one hand below to your pelvis. Good. Now, again, using the front of your pelvis as reference, tilt it forward. So think like you're trying to move the front of your pelvis towards the top of the mat and guide your tailbone behind you, arching your back. And then now, again, using the front of the pelvis as reference, draw it towards your face, And notice how that rounds your back into the floor. So keep doing that, just rocking along the pelvis, tilting forward, tilting backwards. And notice the chain reaction that follows from that. So if the pelvis is kind of locked and you have a lack of control of those movements involved in the pelvis, um, the different types of movements that you can do, then you're limited in how you can, live and move freely. Continue going here, and maybe you close your eyes or at least soften your gaze a bit so that you can really sense what you're feeling, what's going on. Take 3 more. And then once you're done, lengthen your legs out on the floor and just notice any difference if you sense a difference in your back, in your glutes, maybe just in how you're breathing. All right, so now we're going to add on to that, kind of expanding the range of motion in your spine. So plant your feet to the ground. Take your right hand behind your head, the elbow nice and wide. So just right hand behind your head. Good. You can rest your left hand on your belly for right now. Take an inhale, arch your back. So guide your tailbone behind you, tilting the front of the pelvis forward. Make sure you start with the arch. And then exhale, round, lift your head up. Put your left hand on the top of your right shin. Left hand on the top of your right shin. So you're going to guide that right knee in and tap your elbow and knee together. Good. Then again, plant that foot down, arch, inhale, exhale, round, tapping elbow and knee together. Good. So keep going. And I want you to notice if you start to kind of compensate in certain areas. So one way that you can compensate is leaning to the right. So kind of side bending as you do this, or somewhat twisting. So using your left shoulder to help you get more range here. And as you start to, I guess you can say, loosen up or lubricate the area that we're trying to mobilize here, the right side of your back, it gets a little easier, right? The tissues become more resilient. Take 1 more. Good. Lengthen your legs on the floor and just notice any difference. And, it's just a lot of this is sensory and really just tuning into what you feel. But you may notice a difference between the right side of the body and the left. Maybe one side feels a little longer on the ground. All right, so now we're going to do the other side. So plant your feet to the floor, left hand behind your head, right hand can rest to your belly. Inhale, arch, guide your tailbone behind you. Exhale, round, tap left elbow, left knee together, and use your right hand to help guide that elbow knee together. Nice. Keep going. So by moving in this dynamic way and in a somewhat active way, active, but not to the point where we're fully like straining our tissues or our muscles, it can kind of keep the nervous system relatively calm and more receptive to learning. Take 3 more. And once you're done, same thing, just lengthen your legs out and notice any difference if there isn't, based on just whatever you sense. Okay, so now we're going to do both at the same time. So plant your feet to the floor. Take your hands behind your head, elbows nice and wide. Good. Inhale, arch. And as you arch, notice how naturally your elbows go wider and your shoulder blades squeeze together. They just kind of accompany one another. Then exhale, round, lift your head up, lift your feet up, and tap elbows and knees together. Good. Plant, inhale, arch, elbows wide. Exhale, round, elbows forward. Good. Keep going on your own. And remember, it's not a race, so just kind of work at the pace of your breath. And honestly, the less momentum you use, the more challenging it will be because it will require you to use more controlled muscle contraction. Take 1 more. And then once you're done, legs long, arms relaxed by your side, and notice what you notice. Good. So plant your feet to the floor. We're going to add on those cat-cow movements, but in a bridge. This is going to require a bit more glutes and hamstring and calf and back muscle engagement. So take your feet, plant them to the ground, and take your fingertips to the front of your pelvis, those two bony protrusions at the front. Good. Lift your hips up towards the ceiling. Inhale as you find your bridge pose. Good. Now pause, keeping the height of your bridge or height of your pelvis tilted forward, arching, and back, rounding. And keep going. There will be a little bit of a lift and lower naturally, but try to maintain as much height and off the ground as possible. Good. And at first, you may find that the pelvis is kind of stuck, right? It's not moving as much because it really requires a lot of control in the bigger muscle groups to stabilize and the smaller muscle groups to mobilize. See if you can do this without just doing a hip dip, right? Good. So try to keep your hips up and then try not to just dip down and up. So you can just tilt your pelvis. There you go. Good. I know it's kind of an awkward feeling. Take two more. Last one, try not to lift your heels as you do it. Keep your feet planted. Yes, good. And then lower your hips to the floor. You can windshield wiper the legs from side to side. Good. All right. So now we're just going to try to do kind of a twist with the pelvis here. So we'll start with just a simple twist, and then we'll add on the bridge here as well. So cross your left leg on top of the right until the knees are stacked. Left leg on top. So switch your legs to me, Gita. Yeah, there you go. Relax your arms by your side, palms facing up. Take a breath in. Exhale, drop your knees to the left. Good. And then go ahead and rotate your palms to face up so that it helps to kind of roll the shoulder heads back and down. Come back to center, inhale. And then again, exhale, continue going on your own. And as you continue moving through this, if you find it natural to turn your head to the right, go ahead. Nice. So notice how the upper body is either staying centered or somewhat turned towards the right, and then the lower body starting to rotate towards the left. Take two more. And then once you're done, unwind your legs and switch sides. Cross the right leg on top, and then take a breath in. Exhale, drop your knees to the right. Good. Keep going, just like that. Work at the pace of your own breath. Last one. And then unwind your legs once you're done and plant your feet to the floor. Good. So go ahead and lift your right or take your fingertips to the front of your hips, those two bony protrusions again. Now make sure your feet and your knees are about hips width distance apart. And then lift just your right hip to the ceiling. Left hip stays to the floor. Just your right hip. So you're going to twist your right hip up, left hip stays down. Keep your feet planted. Yeah, but try to keep your left hip to the floor. So you're not really going to lift as high as you would think. Now, as you do this, try to keep both knees as much as possible pointing to the ceiling. So no dropping the knees to the left. And also with your fingertips to those bony protrusions at the front of your hips, notice if one hip is hiking up towards the shoulders. See if you can keep both hips the same distance away from your shoulders. Then switch sides, lower the right hip down and lift your left hip up. Try to keep your knees to the ceiling, both of them, as much as possible. Good. So keep doing that and go slow, Gita. slow it down because I really want you to notice and discern between whether your hips are lifting to the ceiling or whether your hips are hiking up to your shoulders. So we want to avoid shortening the sides of the waist. Yes. Do you see how your left hip is kind of drawing up towards your shoulder? Try to keep it away from the shoulders, but lifting up to the ceiling. So if you need to slow it down, go ahead. But remember, one hip always stays to the floor, always stays touching the floor. Good. Yep. But try not to hike that hip like this. So lift straight up, but not to the shoulders. It's a lot harder than it may seem at first because it requires a ton of control. Take one more, right hip up, left hip up. Good, and then relax. So now we're gonna do the exact thing I told you not to do a moment ago. So all you're gonna do is scrunch the right hip towards your right shoulder, keeping it on the floor. And as you do this, your left knee will kind of push forward, your right knee will pull back. And then now switch and drag your left hip towards your left shoulder, not to the ceiling, but towards your shoulder. So the hips stay to the floor. And then again, switch right hip towards your right shoulder. Good. Slow it down, Gita, and try to keep your hips to the floor the whole time. So no lifting your hips off the ground. Yes, there you go. Nice. So a lot of the times, right, when we're moving through, say a pose that requires a twist, we may not realize that we're hiking the shoulder up or the hip up to help create the twist or seem like we're going further in the twist. But really what we're doing is just laterally flexing the spine. So there's a big difference between twisting and side bending, which is what we're doing now. Good. Do one more, right hip, right shoulder, left hip, left shoulder. Good, and then relax. All right, last little thing we're gonna do here for the back, and then we'll get into more of the hip flexor work. So take your arms out wide like the letter T. Plant your feet as wide as your mat, and then drop your knees towards your left. Knees drop to the left. Good. Then pause. Press to the insole of your right foot to lift your right hip up a little bit higher towards the ceiling. Good. So actively press to that right foot. Lift your right hip, just your right hip up. Good. And then draw a rainbow with your right arm along the floor overhead. So you're going to keep your fingertips along the ground and then reach your right hand past your left hand as far as you can to stretch out from right shoulder to right hip. And if you want, you can angle the arm a little bit more towards the back of your mat. Yep, reach like that. Good. Do you feel stretch here? Okay. And then you're going to unwind the same way you got in. So unwind the legs, then unwind the arms. Good. And then you're going to do the other side. So start with the legs, dropping them to the right. Then press the insole of your left foot to lift that left hip up. Then draw the rainbow with your left arm, reaching your left hand past your right hand. Big reach round your spine, chest towards the floor. Reach towards my hand. Good. And then slowly unwind, coming to your back. Do that 2 more times on your own to both sides. And you can hold in that twisted position for maybe 1 breath or 2 breaths, and then you can unwind from it. And once you complete 3 total cycles in both directions, then you can completely unwind and relax on your back. All right. Now, if you're still moving, take your time. Otherwise, go ahead and grab one of your blocks, just one. Place the block between your inner thighs. Okay. So take the legs into a reverse tabletop position. So knees over your hips and shins will be parallel to the floor. So lift your feet off the floor and take your legs at a 90-degree bend. Good. Your choice with what you do with the feet. So you can point your toes or you can flex your toes towards your face, whichever helps you feel more engaged, more stable. Then place your hands to the front of your thighs, your quadriceps. Take both of your hands to the front of the thighs. Good. Relax your head to the ground. We're going to use this as a source of isometric contraction. So you're going to push your hands to your legs, legs to your hands. It doesn't look from the exterior when I'm looking at you like you're moving. So you actually want to be still. But as you push your hands to your legs and your legs to your hands, notice how that creates activation in your core all the way around your waist and in the hip flexors. Now, as you engage through the backs of the legs, almost imagine like you're pulling your heels towards your butt without actually moving them. Notice how you get more activation through the hamstrings and the calves. Take 2 more cycles of breath here, holding in the static position. So we got the mobility part and the stability part. Part of stabilizing is breathing with control. Good. Now remove the block from the thighs, just set it to the side and hug your knees to your chest and rock from side to side. So just a little break, a little rest here. Good. So now we're going to make things just a little bit more challenging. Take your legs in that reverse tabletop position. So knees over your hips, shins parallel to the floor. Good. And then take your left hand to the front of your right thigh. Left hand to the front of your right thigh. Good. Right arm to the ceiling, like you're shaking someone's hand. Good. Now pause, relax your head to the floor. Push your left hand to your right thigh, and the thigh is going to resist to your hand, just like how you did a moment ago. Notice now, though, you had that contraction from left shoulder to right hip. Now, in your inhale, reach your left leg forward and reach your right arm overhead. Now, pause. Notice if you start to use your back completely and it takes over. If that's the case, lift your left leg a little higher or bend the knee so you can decrease the load you're carrying. Then exhale, come back to the middle. Back to where you started. Good. Inhale, reach, arm and leg. Exhale, come back to the middle. Good. Keep going on your own. So as you lengthen, you want to maintain just as much control as when you draw back into the center. So think control the entire time. Good. And you're working with the breath, right? So as you inhale, you'll feel that length in your rib cage or all the way around. And as you exhale, you'll naturally feel that shortening or contractile engagement. Take 2 more on this side here. And once you are done, switch sides. Same setup, but this time right hand to left thigh. Reach your left arm to the ceiling. Inhale, reach arm and leg in opposite direction. Exhale, come back to the middle. Good. So as much as possible, you want to avoid moving the middle of your body. Think proximal stability, stability towards the center. The arm and leg that's moving, that's the only thing that should be moving. Good. And you may find one side has a bit more control than the other side. And it's all just information. So what do you do with that information? That's what's important, right? Just like what do you do with the time that you have now, even though it may not be ideal? Go ahead and take just 3 more. I know this one could be challenging. And then go ahead and hug your knees to your chest and rock from side to side. Good. So now we're going to try to stabilize the core in a rotated position. So plant your left foot to the ground, or right foot to the ground. Grab your block. You're going to take it the long way and place it to your left knee and your right elbow. So take both hands behind your head. Take both hands behind your head. And then twist and tap elbow in there. Good. Now, once you have it set up here, Your left foot can stay planted, or if you want to make things more challenging, you can straighten the leg up. You're going to squish the block, pressing your elbow and knee together, opposite elbow, opposite knee. Good. Inhale, not quite relaxing, but you can relax a little bit. And then exhale again, you can squish. So keep doing that. You relax a bit, you contract. You relax a bit, you contract. But you don't want to drop the block completely. Good. I know it's tricky. Take 3 more. And on the last one, hold. And can you maintain stability in this position for 3, 2, and 1? Switch sides. And you'll probably notice those hip flexors really firing up here. So press elbow to the block. Make sure the block is long so you have more space to work with. Left foot can stay planted or straighten out. You're going to inhale, relax a bit. Exhale, contract inward. And keep working with that based on the pace of your breath. 3 more. Last one, holds. Keep squishing it for 3, 2, and 1. Ditch the block, put your knees to your chest, and rock from side to side. Good. Go ahead and find your way onto your hands and knees. Hands and knees. So now we're going to start to kind of put all the work that we isolated separately together a bit more. So we'll start with our cat-cows, but we're going to move really slowly and segment it, or as segmented as possible. So come on to your hands and knees and go ahead and start at your tailbone. So I want you to think like you're going to just tilt your tailbone towards the ceiling. Keep everything else in neutral. So stay with your tailbone up to the ceiling. That's your back. Tailbone. Yeah, there you go. But keep the rest of your back flat. Okay. Then start to arch your lower back. Then your mid lower back. Just arch it, not round it. Yeah, there you go. Then your mid back, mid upper back. Then your shoulders rolling back, squeezing together, and then your head towards the ceiling. So one segment, one part of the vertebrae at a time, as much as possible. Now pause, stay where you are. Stay in that arch position. Shoulders back, good. Then drop just your head to the chest. Keep everything else the same. Then spread your shoulder blades wide and round here. Slow it down, Then round here, 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 and then your tailbone. Good. So now we're going to go in reverse. So keep everything else the same. Keep everything else the same. Stay where you were, Jen. So come back into that rounded position. No, rounded. Good. Now stay with your back in this position. Just lift your head up towards the ceiling. Good. Then stay in the rounded position. Just start to squeeze your shoulder blades together. Then arch here, your upper back, mid low back, and tailbone. Good. Pause. Stay in this position. Again, we start at the tailbone this time. So keep your upper body the same to start to curl your tailbone underneath. Just your tailbone. Good. Pause. Then round your lower back, mid low back, mid upper back, shoulders, and then head and neck. Good. Now do your regular cat-cow, knowing what you know and how you can move segmentally. See if you can find control of your cat-cow a bit more. Good. Nice. One more. And then come back to neutral in the spine. We're going to just warm up the wrists a little bit since we are going to be on them for some time here. So start with your palms down, but just circle your body, your upper body in one direction. Just kind of preparing the wrist for loading. Now, keep in mind that if you just are heavy on the hands, you'll probably feel a lot of pressure on the wrist. So see if you can grip into your fingertips and into your knuckles as equal as possible. Palms still stay down. Palms down. You're just actively gripping into it like you're trying to grab the floor with your hands. Then circle your body in the other direction if you haven't already. Good. Then lift just your thumbs off the floor. So as you stack your shoulders over the elbows, just lift your thumbs, just your thumbs. Everything else stays, just your thumbs. And keep your fingertips spread wide. Good. Now pause, keep your thumbs lifted, and lift your palms off the floor. Fingertips stay to the floor. Fingertips and your knuckles. Knuckles stay to the ground, Gita. Knuckles down, palms and thumbs up. So like this. Good. Then lower back down and lift again. So again, all you're going to do is lift your thumbs up and lift your palms up, rocking forward, rocking back. Now, if it's a little much, then you can walk your knees closer towards your fingers so that the amount of lift, the amount of pressure isn't as much. So stay with your shoulders over the wrists and again, lift and lower. Just lift up and lower. Good. Nice. And then you can sit on your heels or stand on your knees and just shake out the rest of it. Good. Come back onto your hands and knees. Take a block to the back of your pelvis, the lowest setting. So come onto your tabletop position, and you're going to set up your block right at your pelvis. Now you're going to use the block for feedback here. If you start to round or arch your back, you'll feel the edge of it kind of digging into your back. So you want to keep the block flat and stable. Okay. Think about engaging the front, back, and sides of your waist equally. Now pause and reach your right leg back. Reach your left arm forward. Good. Now also notice if the block is tipping right or left, try to keep it stable. As you reach with the arm and leg that's to the floor, imagine like you're trying to pull them together. Exhale, round, and tap your elbow and knee together underneath the body. Good. Inhale, reach. Exhale, round. Good. One more. Good. Reach, inhale. Keep your right leg lifted. Take your left hand to the floor. Good. Now, without flexing your spine, draw your right knee to your chest. So hip flexion without the spinal flexion. Good. So just notice how far you can draw the knee to the chest without rounding your back. Hold there, knee to chest. Good. Now take your knee out to the side. Think like a dog that's peeing on a fire hydrant. Now notice the tendency to shift your weight to the left, bring your weight to the middle, try to keep the block stable. Then press your knee up and behind you like you're stamping your foot towards the ceiling. Your right foot towards the ceiling. Okay, so you're going to press up like this with that right foot. Keep the knee bent. There you go. Activate here then. So bend. And imagine like you're pushing. But keep your knee bent this way. There you go. Now we're going to go in reverse. Take your knee out to the side, to your right. And draw your knee to your chest. And then lower the knee down. Good. Switch sides. So left leg goes back, right arm goes forward. Grip into your fingertips like you're trying to grab the floor. Palm stays down, palm stays down. Good. Then tap your elbow and knee together underneath the body. Inhale, reach. Exhale, tap. Inhale, reach. And exhale, tap. Good. Inhale, reach. Right hand lowers to the floor. Make sure you're gripping into your fingertips, but while keeping your palms down. And then draw your left knee to your chest, hip flexion, but without the spinal flexion. So try not to round into your lower back. Then take your knee out to the side and press your knee behind you, like you're stamping your foot to the ceiling. So keep your knee bent, hamstrings engaged. Good. Now we go in reverse, knee out to the side. And knee to your chest, hip flexion without rounding your back. Then lower your knee to the floor. Good. Do a couple cat-cows here since we really did a lot of spinal stability. Now just kind of mobilizing. Good. Now come back to a neutral spine. Take your right leg out to the side and plant your foot to the floor. So right leg all the way out towards me. Good. Now pause, roll to the heel so the toes are going to face up to the ceiling. So roll onto the heel, toes up to the ceiling, all the way up. So you're going to rotate your leg externally. There you go. Then start to sit your butt back, keeping your palms out in front of you. And your left knee to the floor, Gita. Left knee to the floor. Yep. So hands out, just like Chad has set up here. And you're just rocking your weight back. There you go. Good. Try doing that a couple more times, just rocking forward and rocking back, staying on the heel with the leg and hip external rotation. Last one. Good. Then rock your weight forward, plant your right sole of the foot to the floor now, the whole foot down. Then reach your right arm to the ceiling, rotating your chest open. Take an inhale. Exhale, thread your right arm underneath your left. Maybe you rest down on your right shoulder. Good. This is going to require not only hip abduction, taking the leg away, but also rotating, right? The spine. Do that 2 more times. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Inhale, open. And exhale, close. Good. Inhale, open. And then take your right hand to the floor and step your right foot forward. You may want to grab your blocks here for assistance. All right. So left knee stays grounded. You can choose to tuck or untuck your back toes. Take your blocks here. Then reach your arms up to the ceiling. Good. Now pause. Again, think about stability in the spine and stability in the hips by imagining you're trying to pull the right heel back and the left knee forward. Then take the arms out wide like the letter T. Make fists with your hands. Press into the top of your left shin and foot and see if you can come onto your right tippy toes. Just the toes. Good. Then see if maybe you can lift your full foot off the ground using core stability, hip flexion. Left hip is in extension. So at the beginning, it's a little bit of a balance challenge, but once you get or you work through that, see if maybe you can challenge the amount of hip flexion you have, drawing the knee as high as you can to your chest without flexing your back. And then lower the right foot down, reach your arms up to the ceiling, inhale. Now on your exhale, you have 2 options here. You can take your fingertips down to the blocks, level 3 under your shoulders, or reach your arms back, fingertips back, pinkies together, tuck your back toes under, and lift off your back knee. Chest is forward, you're on an incline, which is going to make it a bit more challenging to stabilize through your core. So think spine long, core stable. Good. Now you can stay here, or you can take your fingertips to your blocks, stacking them a little bit out in front of you. So your 2 blocks will be a little forward. Then you can lift off your back leg. Activate through the foot, either pointing the toes or flexing your toes, but choose one. Okay. And then try to level up your pelvis. So notice if one hip is twisting up, you want to stabilize your hips and avoid hiking the right hip towards your shoulder. Good. Remember what we did on the back. Then you can reach the right arm forward like you're shaking someone's hand. We did this on hands and knees. With the hand and foot that's to the floor or on support, think about, without actually moving anything, like you're trying to draw that hand and leg towards one another to contract the front of your belly. Then step both feet beside one another and fold. Let your head hang. You can bend the knees or you can keep the legs straight, your choice here. Good. Inhale, lift halfway, so fingertips to your shins, lengthen out through the top of your head. Exhale, bend the knees, plant your hands, and step back into your plank pose. Grip into your fingertips, palms stay down. Then pause here, same idea, right? When you're in tabletop, you want to think stability in the center. Take one more breath in. And exhale, lower your hands or your knees to the floor. So you're back in your tabletop position and slide your knees more underneath your hips. Good. Plant your left foot out wide and rotate the leg externally. So you'll be on the heel with the toes up. Rock your weight back, keeping your palms to the floor, and just notice what sensations come up here. Maybe inner leg, maybe back hamstring. And do that 2 more times. Rocking forward and rocking back. Once more. Good. Now as you rock forward, pause. Reach your left arm to the ceiling. Inhale, rotate your chest open. Yep, left arm up. Exhale as you round and slide your left arm under your right armpit. Maybe you rest all the way to the floor. And then open again. Inhale. You can keep that left sole foot planted to the ground. And then exhale again, round inward as you twist. Last one, open, inhale. And close as you exhale. Good. Come back onto your hands and step your left foot forward. You may want to put your blocks underneath your hands for extra stability, extra support. Otherwise, reach your arms straight up to the ceiling once you feel ready. Back knee stays grounded right now. Good. Take the arms out wide like the letter T. Make this with your hands. Press down to the top of the back foot and the top of the back shin. You can come up onto your left tippy toes, and then maybe you lift your left foot off the floor. Hip flexion on the left side, hip extension on the right. So glute and hamstring activation, and then core stability. Good. Then plant your left foot to the ground. You have a couple options here. Fingertips can stay to the floor as you tuck the back toes and lift off your back knee, or your arms can fly by your side, but your chest is leaning forward. You're on an incline. Good. Lift your chest up just a little bit more. Yeah, there. Good. Then pause. Either hands stay behind you or fingertips to your blocks. Round into your left foot, and then you can lift off your right leg. Good. Now, either point the toes or flex the toes, your choice, but you need to activate through the leg that's lifted. Then check in with your pelvis. Yes, try not to scrunch the left side of your waist up, and try not to hike your right hip towards the ceiling. Once you're stable there, reach your left arm forward like you're shaking someone's hand. Left. There you go. So opposite arm, opposite leg. I know it's tricky, but it's essentially all the work that you've done on hands and knees and on your back. Then take both hands on the blocks, feet to the floor, and fold. Let your head go. Good. Lift halfway, so fingertips to your shin bones, lengthen out through the top of the head, both feet to the floor. Just rest, yeah. And then go ahead and bend your knees and have a seat. Good. As you sit all the way down, lengthen your legs out in front of you. Grab your block, one block, and hold it in your hands. Make sure you're scooted forward towards the top of the mat so that you have space to lie down. Okay, so once you're set up, arms out in front, dig your feet into the floor, and then you're going to roll down to your back really slowly on my count for 5, 4, 3, 2, all the way down. Full body stretch, reach the block overhead, point your toes, arch your back. Plant your feet to the ground. Take that block, put it under your pelvis. Lowest and widest setting. Legs long, arms can reach overhead. Just allow your body weight to kind of sink into the floor. Good. Just take 3 more cycles of breath here. And if you want, Shad, you can lengthen your legs if that's okay. So a lot about this physical practice is really, seeing what's out and what you're presented with, what is in front of you, and taking whatever concepts, ideas, or principles, and then figuring out how does that apply to me, to my body, to my experience. And then from whatever experience I create for myself, whatever choices I make, how do I move forward with that information, right? Being present with whatever choices, experiences come into play at that moment. Go ahead and plant your feet to the ground, lift your hips up, move the block out of the way. Any final movements that you would like to take, go ahead and find them, whether it be, happy baby, another twist, full body stretch. And then once you feel ready, go ahead and set up for meditation. You can stay lying on your back. If you like sitting in meditation, you can do that as well. You can lie on your belly. Really, it's completely up to you what happens in your physical body. And then you can close your eyes or at least soften the gaze a little bit. And on Monday in our reflection, right, reflect and flow class, in the reflection portion of it, I asked you, what is a new experience or a new tradition that you kind of are creating because of our circumstances this year? And it also happened to be on the day of winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, which means that there are brighter days ahead, right? There's optimism to look forward to. So, based on that reflection journal question, can you notice what is presented to you now and what was presented to you in the movement part of the practice? And how can you take that information and move forward? How can you be present now so that as you leave this space and move on with the rest of your day, you're better equipped to be present at each moment in the day? And if the mind gets distracted, just make a mental note of it and then bring your awareness back to the here and now. start to deepen your breath, and perhaps feeling with your hands to your belly that movement, just like at the beginning of the practice. Maybe with a bit more awareness, expansion and contraction all the way around the waist and down into the pelvic floor. You can invite gentle movements in the body, wiggling your fingers, wiggling your toes, maybe circling the wrists and the ankles in one direction and then the other. Take a full body stretch one final time, reaching the arms overhead, pointing the toes, finding a big sigh, a big yawn. As you're ready, you can guide your knees to your chest, roll to one side, and meet me in a comfortable seated position, whatever that means to you. As you sit upright, you can rest your hands to your thighs or in your lap, eyes closed or soft. Take a breath in and a big sigh out. Moving physically with intention, with purpose, is really follows thinking with intention and purpose, being mindful, right? Which is such an important component of this practice, and I think such a valuable tool to have in our daily lives. So as you venture on today and into the rest of your week, enjoying your holidays with your family, keep this in mind, that whatever you have presented in front of you, it's really more so about what you do with that matters more than anything. I thank you for sharing this practice, energy, and space. As a symbol of my gratitude, I bow to you.